your lack of hearing in your right ear, but today you're saying that there's tinnitus or tinnitus. How do you say it?
I don't know. Either one is fine with me.
I say tinnitus, but others say tinnitus. You say tomato, I say tomato.
I say tinnitus.
Tinnitus, okay.
And it came as raging tinnitus.
That's right. So you had that as a dream or just something that came into your mind last night?
I noticed that there was very loud ringing in my ears, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. And it's actually in both ears, but the right one is worse than the...
Okay. And do you remember when it first started?
I only know that it was after John died, and probably when I had begun a spiritual teaching, somewhere in that time.
Okay. And did this come to you last night in a dream or when you woke up, or how did you
Just
get that rage? When you woke up?
When I woke up.
You got raging tinnitus?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you mean originally when I got it? Or
No,
last night?
no, yeah, you got that word.
Yes, I got that word
You
this
noticed?
morning when I woke up.
Yep, great. All right. Thanking my Akash,
Thanking my Akash,
my guides and my higher self
my guides and my higher self,
for the message this morning when I woke up.
for the message this morning when I woke up.
The words raging tinnitus.
The words raging tinnitus.
I can feel it in both ears,
I can feel it in both ears,
but especially my right ear.
but especially my right ear.
And it relates to when I started my spiritual quest
And it relates to when I started my spiritual quest
after John died.
after John died.
I accept myself
I accept myself
and whatever relevance it has for me in this life,
and whatever relevance it has for me in this life,
and wherever it relates to any other life,
and wherever it relates to any other life.
I choose to find it in order to release it.
I choose to find it in order to release it.
I wonder what spiritual quest I was on in another life.
I wonder what spiritual quest I was on in another life
that triggered this tinnitus when I was on my spiritual quest in this life.
that spirit
That
triggered the
tinnitus.
tinnitus when I was on the spiritual quest in this life.
I wonder what I could have been doing or hearing
I wonder what I could have been doing or hearing
when I was on a spiritual quest in another life.
when I was on a spiritual quest in another life.
There were many lifetimes when people on a spiritual path had nasty things happen.
There were many lifetimes when I was on a spiritual quest
In other lifetimes,
in other lifetimes,
when nasty things happened.
when nasty things happened.
I wonder what I heard.
I wonder what I heard.
I wonder what I might have heard.
I wonder what I might have heard.
Asking my Akash why I needed the ringing in my ears.
Asking my Akash why I needed the ringing in my ears.
I wonder what it was blocking out.
I wonder what it was blocking out.
That raging tinnitus.
That raging tinnitus.
I wonder why I was raging.
I wonder why I was raging.
I wonder why they were raging.
I wonder why they were raging.
Is there anything coming up? Any emotion, any feeling in the body?
A sort of tightness, a sort of stuckness.
Where in the body?
My throat.
There's tightness and stuckness in my throat.
There's tightness and stuckness in my throat.
I instruct my Akash
I instruct my Akash
to allow me to decipher
I instruct my Akash to allow me to decipher
what the relationship is to this tightness in my throat
what the relationship is to this tightness in my throat
and the raging tinnitus in my ears
and the raging tinnitus in my ears
when I was on a spiritual quest in another life.
when I was on a spiritual quest in another life.
That tightness in my throat.
That tightness in my throat.
So a little bit further down under the arm, it's about 4 inches, so about there. Yep. That raging tinnitus.
That raging tinnitus.
That tightness in my throat.
That tightness in my throat.
My spiritual quest.
My spiritual quest.
Another lifetime.
In another lifetime.
That tightness in my throat.
That tightness in my throat.
Imagining where that might come from.
Imagining where that might come from.
That tightness in my throat.
That tightness in my throat.
Raging tinnitus in my ears.
Raging tinnitus in my ears.
That ringing in my ears.
That ringing in my ears.
That tightness in my throat.
That tightness in my throat.
Imagining where that comes from.
Imagining where that comes from. It might be a little lower. It's in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In my throat area.
Mm-hmm.
This tightness in my throat area.
This tightness in my throat area.
Imagining what I might have been hearing.
Imagining what I might have been hearing.
That I needed tinnitus to block out.
That I needed tinnitus to block out.
That tightness in my throat area.
That tightness in my throat area.
In my neck.
In my neck.
Asking my Akash where it comes from.
Asking my Akash where it comes from.
I want to dissolve it all the way back to its origin.
I want to dissolve it all the way back to its origin.
Wherever I needed the tinnitus.
Wherever I needed the tinnitus.
The raging tinnitus.
The raging tinnitus.
All the emotion.
All the emotions.
Trapped in my ears.
Trapped in my ears.
Whatever I heard.
Whatever I heard.
That I don't want to hear.
That I don't want to hear.
That tightness in my throat.
That tightness in my throat.
In my neck.
In my neck.
Asking my Akash to dissolve it and let it go.
Asking my Akash to dissolve it and let it go.
All the way back to its origin.
All the way back to its origin.
The first time I felt it.
The first time I felt it.
Every time I felt it.
Every time I felt it.
When I was on a spiritual quest.
When I was on a spiritual quest.
Just like in this life.
Just like in this life.
Thanking my body for protecting me.
Thanking my body for protecting me.
Protecting me against that raging noise I didn't want to hear.
Protecting me against that raging noise I didn't want to hear.
The raging anger. The raging anger.
The raging
anger.
Anger. The raging anger.
The raging emotion.
The raging emotion.
Trapped in my throat.
Trapped in my throat.
Trapped in my neck.
Trapped in my neck.
Everything I wanted to say and I couldn't.
Everything I wanted to say and I couldn't.
Everything I heard and I didn't want to hear.
Everything I heard and I didn't want to hear.
Asking my body to release it and let it go now.
Asking my body to release it and let it go now.
Through all the layers of my Akash.
Through all the layers of my Akash.
Instructing the multi-dimensional layers to release it.
Instructing the multi-dimensional layers to release it.
It's time to step through it.
It's time to step through it.
Stepping through the fear.
Stepping through the fear.
Stepping through the pain.
Stepping through the pain.
Stepping through the emotion.
Stepping through the emotion.
All the raging emotion.
All the raging emotion.
What I heard.
What I heard.
What was trapped in my throat.
What was trapped in my throat.
I choose to release it all now.
I choose to release it all now.
Through all the multi-dimensional layers of my DNA.
Through all the multi-dimensional layers of my DNA.
I choose to have peace.
I choose to have peace.
I choose to hear peace.
I choose to hear peace.
In my ears and in my throat.
In my ears and in my throat.
Releasing the need to protect myself.
Releasing the need to protect myself.
With that raging tinnitus.
With that raging tinnitus.
I'm safe now.
I am safe now.
It's safe to put that to rest.
It's safe to put that to rest.
And to release it.
And to release it.
It's safe to hear.
It's safe to hear.
Especially when I'm in my spiritual quest.
Especially when I'm on my spiritual quest.
Like after John died.
Like after John died.
And every lifetime I was on a spiritual quest.
And every lifetime I was on a spiritual quest.
It's safe for me to be on a spiritual quest.
It's safe for me to be on a spiritual quest.
So what was coming up for you? Anything then?
I couldn't access the feeling. It was just numbed out.
Even though I couldn't access a feeling,
even though I couldn't access the feeling.
It must have been so bad that my body numbed me out.
It must have been so bad that my body numbed it out.
I thank my body for numbing me out,
I thank my body for numbing it out,
now and in that lifetime.
now and in that lifetime.
I didn't want to feel the raging emotion.
I didn't want to feel the raging emotion.
It was too overwhelming.
It was too overwhelming.
I accept that,
I accept that,
and the way my DNA is protecting me.
and the way my DNA is protecting me.
But I want to feel it in my body in order to process it.
But I want to feel it in my body in order to process it.
That numbed out feeling.
That numbed out feeling.
It wasn't safe to feel in my body.
It wasn't safe to feel it in my body.
It wasn't safe to hear it.
It wasn't safe to hear it.
It was too shocking,
It was too shocking,
too traumatic.
too traumatic.
It wasn't safe to hear it.
It wasn't safe to hear it.
All that trauma trapped in my ears and my throat.
All that trauma trapped in my ears and in my throat.
That numbed out, frozen feeling.
That numbed out, frozen feeling.
I choose to feel it in order to process it.
I choose to feel it in order to process it.
In order to process the trauma.
In order to process the trauma.
I choose to be in my body.
I choose to be in my body.
To gently release it.
To gently release it.
Imagining what was so shocking that I heard.
Imagining what was so shocking that I heard.
As I process and release it.
As I process and release it.
Imagining what was so traumatic in my throat.
Imagining what was so traumatic in my throat.
That made me freeze and numb out of it.
That made me freeze and numb out of it.
Instructing my body to process and release that now.
Instructing my body to process and release it now.
As I allow my body to feel it in order to dissolve it.
As I allow my body to feel it in order to resolve it.
And dissolve it.
And dissolve it.
And to have peace.
And to have peace.
In my ears and my throat.
In my ears and my throat.
I choose to have peace.
I choose to have peace.
Releasing the numbed out feeling.
Releasing the numbed out feeling.
It's safe to feel emotions.
It's safe to feel emotions.
It's safe to process them.
It's safe to process them.
Especially when I'm on a spiritual quest.
Especially when I'm on a spiritual quest.
How does that feel?
I started to feel fear rising up, but it gets to here and it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I could feel a little bit of fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was coming up.
Yeah.
And it stopped around the heart.
It stopped around the heart.
Mm-hmm. Thanking my body for allowing me to feel the fear.
Thanking my body for being able to feel the fear.
So that I can process it.
So that I can process it.
Sending beautiful white light to my heart.
Sending beautiful white light to my heart.
To transmute and transform that fear.
To transmute and transform that fear.
Sending it all the way back to its origin.
Sending it all the way back to its origin.
Where I first felt that fear.
Where I first felt that fear.
Dissolving it and letting it go.
Dissolving and
letting it go.
Letting it go.
All the way back to when I first felt it.
All the way back to when I first felt it.
Feeling that fear rising up into my heart.
Feeling of fear rising up into my heart.
And then dissolving into that beautiful white light.
And then dissolving into that beautiful white light.
Allowing my higher self to communicate.
Allowing my higher self to communicate.
And my guides.
And my guides.
I never really die.
I never really died.
I'm safe.
I'm safe.
I'm eternal.
I'm eternal.
Dissolving the fear and the numbed out feeling.
Dissolving the fear and the numbed out feeling.
With that beautiful white light.
With that beautiful white light.
As the fear rises up, it dissolves.
As the fear rises up, it dissolves.
Dissolving at my heart. Dissolving at my heart.
At my heart.
Feeling only love.
Feeling only love.
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
That I send back through all time.
That I send back through all time.
Any time when I felt fear.
Any time when I felt fear.
Sending it to my ears and my throat.
Same with my ears and my throat.
Sending that beautiful white light.
Sending that beautiful white light.
Cleansing and clearing any fear.
Cleansing and clearing any fear.
In any lifetime.
In any lifetime.
Especially when I'm on a spiritual quest.
Especially when I'm on a spiritual quest.
Dissolving the raging tinnitus.
Dissolving the raging tinnitus.
And any emotion connected with it.
And any emotion connected with it.
And any fear connected with it.
And any fear connected with it.
Through all the multi-dimensional layers of my DNA.
Through all the multi-dimensional layers of my DNA.
Clearing the fear and emotion in my throat.
Clearing the fear and emotion in my throat.
I'm safe now.
I am safe now.
I'm safe now.
I am safe now.
Okay, how does that feel?
I had a shock when you said something about dying, because I hadn't thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like, oh, that was true.
Mm-hmm.
That did.
Mm.
So, that helped me feel another part of that release.
Mm.
Glad to know that I had released it through death,
Mm.
rather than stay in it,
Mm.
whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. So when you tune into your ears now, how's the raging tinnitus? Has it come down? Would you still call it raging?
I wouldn't call it raging now. It's probably down a decibel or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little. It's still loud, but it's not frantic like it was before.
Mm-hmm. Good. So that shows that the body's processing it now. So let's just do another round. Even though I've gone from raging, tinnitus, and it's come down quite a bit.
And it's calmed down quite a bit.
It's not frantic like it was.
It's not frantic like it was.
I thank my DNA
I thank my DNA
and the multidimensional layers of all of my cells
and the multidimensional layers of myself
to process this even further
to process this even further
through all of my lifetimes,
through all of my lifetimes,
especially now
especially now
when I'm on a spiritual quest,
especially now when I'm on a spiritual quest,
releasing the sound in my ears.
releasing the sound in my ears.
It's safe to hear now.
It's safe to hear now.
Processing it and continuing the processing.
Processing it and continuing the processing.
It's already coming down.
It's already coming down.
Allowing my body to continue to process today.
Allowing my body to continue processing today.
Allowing my hearing to get even better throughout the day.
Allowing my hearing to get even better during the day.
As the tinnitus comes down and down.
As the tinnitus comes down and down.
Until I don't even recognize it.
Until I don't even recognize it.
And I don't even need to have it there.
And I don't even need to have it here.
Releasing the need to have it here at all.
Releasing the need to have it here at all.
I don't need that protection anymore.
I don't need that protection anymore.
It no longer serves me.
It no longer serves me.
And I choose to hear peacefully.
And I choose to hear peacefully.
It's safe now.
It's safe now.
Especially when I'm on a spiritual quest.
It's safe now, especially when I'm on a spiritual quest.
Mm-hmm. So we've instructed the body to continue to process that throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
How's it feeling now?
It's sort of being able to look at the whole episode as a question rather than as a terrible event. It's just like, oh, that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no emotion attached to it anymore. It's
Right. It's more like, oh, okay, that's
it's not
fine.
landing on you anymore.
No.
Mm. Cool.
So that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is.